All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. In today's show of the creation of the creator, we're jumping in and talking to a man, King Sanders, guys. You guys probably know him. He does sports betting videos on YouTube every single day, and it was really good to get to know him. We've crossed paths a few times, but I like getting to know people, and that is kind of the point of this show, getting to know people on a deeper level and letting you guys kind of peel back the curtain and see into what they're doing when you don't see what they're doing, like we've always said. Guys, before we get into the show, I do want to say that we just launched this new suede fleece hoodie, and it is awesome. It's super comfortable, a little oversized, so you have that for the winter and whatnot, guys. Use that link in the description, and you can use promo code CREATE to take 10% off. Check it out in the Guy Boston Sports Store. Now let's get into the show with my man, King Sanders. All right, we are now bringing on a face that plenty of you guys probably know. We got King Sanders in the building. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing good. Just got home from work, getting ready to watch some of these NBA games, see if I'm a winner tonight or if I'm a loser tonight. But I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on. Like I said in the first episode, guys, if you haven't watched that, we had Austin from Calling Our Shop, but this is really going to be, I guess, a show in which we bring on some of these guys that are on the YouTubes, on social media, anything like that, and kind of get to know them a little bit better. King Sanders does the sports picks, does the sports gambling, the betting videos, over 11,000 on YouTube, right? Did I see a community post? You just hit over 1 million views on your channel too, in what, just 2 years or so?
Yeah, it's actually been about a year and 3 months. I started right around Thanksgiving of 2021. That was like my first time that I actually put out like a sports betting video, and then now I just hit 1 million channel views, which is just unreal.
That is crazy. Now, good question. I do want to know the answer to this too. I want to ask everyone this. You said it's what, a year and 3 months since you started doing sports betting videos, right?
Yep.
What were you doing before? Because I feel like at one point we talked, or I'd heard you say, or maybe it was when we did the fantasy football league, but you used to do 2K videos, I believe. You've done a bunch of different types of videos. I've seen fantasy basketball videos on the channel, but go way back to your first video. If you can remember, what was it? Do you still have it posted? Is it live? Or were you like, oh man, I sound like a loser. I got to cut that. Do you remember what that was, what it was about?
So I'm pretty sure that my first official video on this channel, technically I had like a side channel that I had, some other stuff from back when I was like just starting high school. So it was like really really rough. But my first official video I think on this channel was a 2K rebuild. King of the fourth quarter. I'm sure if you guys are if you guys have any idea what
Yep.
the 2K community is, you guys know who he is. But he was one of my favorite original YouTubers. I had found him probably at this point like 3 or 4 years ago, and he was one of my biggest inspirations. I loved watching him, and he is from Illinois as well, so it's kind of like we had that connection as well. Huge Bulls fans, so I just connected with him really easy, and it was something that I was like, maybe I could try this, and I tried it, and wasn't for me. Shout out to him. He does a great job with his stuff, but it wasn't really for me. So I think that was the first one. I think I did a Bulls rebuild, believe it or not. But yeah,
So you started doing 2K, and I'm assuming, obviously, just based on where you are now and the growth you've had, that obviously doesn't have the same traction as the sports betting videos, which, I have a similar path as well. I kind of built this channel on Celtics content, going live after Celtics games, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? I like to gamble on sports. What if I just, started posting my picks? That first sports betting video, how many videos, I guess, did it take for you to be like, oh, okay, this is where my priority lies?
yeah, absolutely. So I'll do just a tiny bit of backtracking too. When it comes to those rebuilds, I had some. Like I remember that was my first official video that I had gotten over 1,000. There was one video that I had that hit like I think it was like 12 or 1,300, and I was like, whoa, that was great. But those videos, it would take me hours and hours and hours of editing, and it wasn't something that I was super passionate about. So I had switched it. I believe it or not, the reason I started sports betting was because of calling our shot. So I had started watching
Okay,
all of
wow.
his videos. Yeah, I know. I gambled every day anyway, but I had watched Calling Our Shot do a couple videos, and I had searched up literally in the YouTube search bar NBA best bets for today, and he was one of the names that were up there, and I was like, I do this literally every single day. Why not put it on there? So I had started with NFL betting videos, and I had done okay. I remember I had gotten like 30, 40 views. Most of those were probably from me hitting the refresh button, but I did start off there. Then once NBA kind of kicked in, I was like, all right, let me go ahead and try this for the NBA. And I remember my first ever one. I had gotten over 100 views, and I was like, whoa, like that was pretty crazy to me. I couldn't believe like over 100
How many,
people were.
not to cut you off, but how many subs at the time? Do you know? Do you have any
It was
remembrance of?
it was less than 50. I think I was at like
Okay.
30 something at that point. I had done the 2K
Okay. So
videos for
a
like.
hundred's good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like I had done the 2K videos for like probably 2 months before that. So I'd gained a tiny, tiny audience. So I'd gotten over 100 on that one. And that was my first ever one. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. And I mean this with my whole heart. You can go back and look. So like 3 or 4 videos in, I think it was like it was definitely not very far into NBA betting. Calling Our Shot actually commented on my video and said, "Nice thumbnail." Now, I have no idea. I will never know if he was actually kidding because it was slightly similar to what they had done, or if he was actually being serious because it was something that
Oh,
I had kind of like thrown up there. But then after that, I responded back to him. I started commenting on all of his videos. He started to comment on like half of mine. So it was like this thing where I don't know if the first ever comment was like actually him saying that I had nice thumbnails because they were not even like clean at all, but it was one of those things that, like, as soon as that hit off, I was set in. I was like, oh my gosh, the guy that I looked up to, the guy that I really started because of, he commented on my video. So then I just kept going from there.
that is hilarious. I mean, who knows? I've talked to Austin multiple times. Like, he can go, he can be gunslinging out here, like calling someone
Right.
out, but also being like super helpful. Like, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
But if that thumbnail, we've probably all seen it, like in this space now, where you're kind of like, hey, that's my thing. Like, do I stoop to that level, or do I kind of like, admire it in a sense? But that is awesome that he inspired you. And I mean, not to talk about him on this episode, but I'm sure he's doing that for so many people now with that growth. But I do think that you've kind of, I don't even mean to say kind of, like, you've leveled up this year as well, right? Like, you were one super hot to start the season, if my memory serves, right? And then views just skyrocketed for you too. The subs, all well deserved. I mean that sincerely. How has this season been for you thus far? Obviously, picks, you can get into that, but I guess in terms of that sort of that King Sanders community that you're continuously building.
Absolutely. So, when the season started, I started off red hot. I swept the opening night, which just doesn't happen. Swept opening night, and then the next couple nights, I think it was over the first week. I was very profitable in the first week, and I was like, whoa, this is a great start. And honestly, I had stayed pretty profitable up until about, it was like probably close to like a month ago. My brother ended up graduating from college, and so he was in Texas, and so I had to travel to Texas. I had to watch him graduate, and so the videos were kind of scuffed. It was kind of up in the air, and then all of a sudden it was like 0-3,
I
0-2,
remember I
0-3.
remember
I
the
was like,
bathroom views.
yeah, and so I was like,
I
oh
remember
man,
those
and
bathroom videos.
yeah, and then but now things are starting to look back up again. I'm starting to get some traction, and I feel like I've been putting a lot more time into my videos ever since that happened, because I was like, man, I'm losing my audience, I'm losing them fast. So I switched some things around, changed up the way I was kind of doing things, the way I was analyzing plays, and so now I feel like they're really starting to connect back with me and kind of stick with me. So I'm very grateful for that.
That is awesome. And also too, like, the one thing that I can say it about you, I hope that like kind of, translates to my audience too, but like, as long as you are genuine, and if you have a losing night, if you have a bad stretch, you show up the next day, there's going to be the hate comments. Everyone gets those, you know what I mean? And there's the ones that stick with you, or you see the same name and
Mhm.
sometimes I'll clap back at people, right? I'll be like, hey man, like I think today some guy was like, oh, this clown again. And I was like, oh, you mean this clown again? Surprising. I do this every day. Shocker that I'm here again, you know? And then people are like, hey, don't respond to them. And I was like, all right, fair. Cool down, Ev. Do you get a lot of hate comments? How do you deal with them? Do you respond at all?
So absolutely, I do get hate comments. I get hate comments all the time. I think pretty much in the grand scheme of things, all good YouTubers get hate comments. And it's just kind of the way that it is. People that are dedicated to what they do, you're gonna get those people that do hate. I have one specific person. I won't I won't name drop, but I'm sure he knows exactly who he is. He comes into my chat every single day and posts what play he hates the most, and he just talks about that one specific play and how much he hates it, how he's going to fade it, and then how just talks about how stupid it is. And it's one guy. He has two separate accounts under the same name. Like one is his full name and one is his nickname. And it's literally the same
Okay.
guy comes in and does it the whole time. I literally just comment back and I always say things like, it's good to see you again. And I put like his name and I put like a smiley face or something. And I'm just like, it's good to
That's
see you
funny.
again. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing worse than having a losing day. And for me personally, I plaster my record right up there on screen. So if I have a bad night the night before, everybody sees it. They see the red, they see that I was bad, and I understand how that can be kind of like misleading and how you do want to click off after something like that. But at the end of the day,
Mhm.
everybody's going to heat up at some point. You just never really know when it's going to be.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I also think that that guy with the same name and whatnot, he's got to technically be your biggest fan. Like whether he wants to admit it or not, that's a guaranteed view, you know, like and comment. That guy, his engagement is through the roof. And I want to get into this. I think this is a good question, and I want to ask everyone this, and I want your honest opinion too. If there is this spectrum of like being correct on your picks and entertaining, and you just kind of mentioned too, like, hey, you're putting that record right there, that means there's got to be something else that keeps these people wanting to watch a video, or hooking them, or getting them to like your personality. Where do you want to envision yourself falling in terms of like someone's tuning in to your video just for the pics and the correct percentage, or skipping through the video seeing what you have because you post everything on the screen too, right? So it's like, where do you want the why do you want any person to tune back in terms of a spectrum from straight up entertainment? I use the barstool example of those guys are bad at betting, but you want to watch them. They're entertaining. They're funny when they lose. And then you have some people on YouTube, that are amazing. Their hit rate is crazy, but they could be boring, and no one actually comes in to see that person. Where do you want to kind of fall on the, I guess, on the spectrum?
Yeah, for me, I would say if I had a preference, because it's you never really know with these sports betting picks, but realistically, I would say that overall, I like to consider myself a pretty entertaining guy. I feel like I always have been. I did like Twitch streams for like
Mhm.
before I even started YouTube, and I've always felt like I was a pretty entertaining guy. I feel like I feel personally, I feel like I'm kind of funny. It just kind of depends on the day, but if I had a preference, I would say I would like to be 65-35 when it comes to like the picks and it comes to entertainment. Because regardless, I
65,
put out a vid
65 picks, right?
yes.
65% picks. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
65 picks.
Gotcha.
The reason being is because like I feel like I put out a pretty funny video today. Had a really great hook right there at the beginning about how the Grizzlies are done to me. I made some cool animations throughout the video, and just made it like a really enjoyable video. Put a lot of stats into it, a lot of emphasis, and it didn't do very well because my picks were not good the day before. I ended up going 1-2, I think it was last night, and so when I even the day before that, I ended up having 3 straight profitable days. That video reached over 5,000, and today even though I put all this extra time into it, still at only like 2.5K. So it's like it's one of those things that like if I'm having a good run, a lot more people are going to show up, and it makes sense because the industry we're in, the more you win, the more like money that you're going to bring in for these people. So that's what they're going to want to come for. But at the same time, they're not going to want to tune into somebody that's like super boring and that is, so I
Right.
feel like it has to be a decent little spectrum, but I would lean more towards like 65-35 when it comes to what we specifically do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that that is what I think that's probably what the most of the audience wants. They want that quality content when it comes from an actual analytical and knowledgeable standpoint, but they don't want to be bored to death all the way through it. They don't want to dread having to watch your video because you're on a heater. You know what I mean? So, and to me, like I probably do fall closer to I mean, I have a brand called Fade Me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of in jest because if you just fade it, it wouldn't be profitable, I guess, for you. But like, I want people to be able to be like, I hate your picks. I'm going to fade you. I'll be like, okay, like that's totally, none of us are placing the bet for you, you know, which is like, I wish I could respond that to like every single comment, but I always am interested to see where people fall in that. And I didn't mean to make that the brag about yourself section where you're like, well, I'm entertaining and I'm funny. That I forced him. That was me. Anyone watching, that was me forcing him to brag about himself. But we are talking a lot about YouTube here. You talked about getting into the YouTube game. Why don't we strip away YouTube for a second? Forget the hate comments, forget everything. Sort of, I guess, introduction to sports, introduction to, you know, getting into social media. I know you already mentioned Kenny and his I guess 2K sort of inspiring you, but maybe take it even two steps further. You said you're from Illinois, obviously. Have you lived there your whole life? And then I guess really like first time you pick up a camera, was it that 2K introduction, or where'd you kind of come from?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I am from Central Illinois. It's not Chicago. It's not just Chicago here in Illinois. I literally live in the middle of a bunch of cornfields. I live about 2 hours south of Chicago, from the United Center specifically. How I ended up getting into basketball itself and just like sports in general. Basketball was the first ever like true sport that I was interested in, and I wouldn't have been interested in it, but one of my best friends, at the time, he had just moved there. And so the only reason that I had ever even picked up a basketball or even considered watching basketball was because he had flipped on a Chicago Bulls game in 2011 where Derrick Rose was on the roster, and Derrick Rose was electric. Derrick Rose was the guy to watch, and he was super entertaining. And ever since then, of course, Chicago, not too far from here, so it's easy to fall in love with the hometown. But
Mhm.
I really did like love the team that they had, and ever since then, that's what inspired me to play basketball and watch basketball just in general. So that would be definitely where my sports passion ended up coming from. So it wasn't even me; it was just one of my buddies had turned on one of the games, and I'd watched with him, and ever since then, it just kind of stuck. Um, when it comes to the camera thing, I don't want to say that like I've been doing it forever because that would not be entirely true. But my school was a little bit different when we were going through like junior high and like even like high school and stuff. A lot of our projects made us talk. We were a very small school. My town itself only has like maybe maybe 1,000 people in it. I'm not sure if that number is even correct. We are a very, very small town. Like I said, I live in the middle of a cornfield, and I have my next closest neighbors like three-fourths of a mile away. So it's like we are a very, very small town. And when and so like a lot of our projects would be us recording ourselves and presenting it in front of the class. So that's something that we've done for a long time. So me and my friends, we would play basketball and we'd record it, and we'd have like these one-on-one tournaments and record it, and have like these basically like sports broadcasts of us playing one-on-one basketball. So I've been doing it for a really long time. Never thought that it would turn into what it was, but it's something that we've been practicing, having fun with for a really long time.
That's cool. What about all-time Bulls starting five for you? Can you do that on the spot?
Like based off of like personal, yeah, that's a loaded question. But based off of like personal like enjoyment or like
Yeah, yeah.
what are
Let's
we
go
thinking here?
your yeah. Let's go your personal top five. There can be a guy in there that stinks, but you're like, no, I liked him.
Yeah,
He's the power forward.
absolutely. Um, okay, so first, I would say, I mean, Derrick Rose is my all-time favorite player, just because he was the main reason I ever ended up getting into basketball. So Derrick Rose is definitely number one. So I'd play him at the point guard position. I would say if I'm going to go ahead and pick somebody that's out of position, I would say Io DeSumo, their current point guard. The reason being is because he actually played in Champaign, which is like 30 minutes from me at the U of I, or University of Illinois. And so I've been to like a million of his games, and he grew up here in Illinois. So he's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. I love Zach Levine. He is a current Bull too, but I love Zach Levine. He's just electric to watch, and when he's on, nobody can stop him. He's just a really fun player for sure. I also would say at my like if I were to pick like a power forward spot, a little bit undersized, but one of my favorite power forwards to watch was Wendell Carter Jr. When he was on the Bulls.
Okay.
Kind of played center, kind of played power forward. I would say him because I love the way that he played. I was really upset when we actually ended up giving him up, but I love the way that he started off. He was more of a rim protector, and now he's been even better with the Magic. So, everybody gets better when they leave the Bulls, but regardless, he's been really good. He's been a very solid player. I like the way that he plays. He was one of my like favorite to just watch in general. And then for the center position, I would say probably Joakim Noah. I mean, he was the perfect do it all kind of guy, like that grit and grind, like nose, nose to the grindstone. He was really about that. And if I had to pick a six man, because I'll throw in a little extra, I'll throw in a little six man for you. I would say my boy, Lauri Markkinen, right here. I got the Lauri Markkinen
Okay.
jersey on. I love Lauri Markkinen. I have him and Io and Wendell, all my, some of my favorite players from the Bulls. But I would say that would be my top five for sure.
I like that. I like little marking and throwing. I was worried when you're like a six man. I was like, oh, are you gonna go seventh man? Are you gonna go eighth man? I was like, we don't have all day here.
No, just a
But no,
sec.
that's I like that. I didn't even know Io DeSumo or whatever his name is went to Illinois. That's a probably an obvious miss by me. But all right, cool. I like that. I honestly, when I said that to you too, I was like, I don't even know if I could rattle off a Celtics five. So that's good. You had that in the back pocket. You were like, oh, it's tough to do. Never mind. I've done this every day for the forever. But let's go back a little bit here, I guess, into some of the stuff that I'm curious about just with your channel. All right. All that growth this year, and I guess this NBA season, right? And you obviously do multiple sports. NBA is your favorite, I'm assuming. It is mine as well. Take it a few years down the road or 5 years, like where is the King Sanders channel going? Is it always going to be sports betting, gambling? Say you could snap your fingers right now and you had the audience that you have for the gambling, for the sports picks. What type of content would you want to be creating if you had that engagement? Because like we all know, and I mean that's the perfect thing to bring up in this type of show that I want to create here is that sort of like it's a grind. It's a lot. A lot of us definitely love doing it, but we talked about it. The reason we started to focus on it was because of the traction and was because of the engagement. And I love doing it. You love doing it. But if you could have that same attraction, same engagement, same success in any sort of, I guess, content field, where do you think that would be?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty tough one. I really do enjoy what I do. Of course, I wouldn't be doing it if I hated waking up every morning and watching these picks and responding to comments. I just wouldn't be doing it. So I do really enjoy it. But I did also, if I were to pick a secondary audience, like if I were to just take all 11,000 of my subscribers and we're like, here, let me slide you over to this channel. I did make a movie channel. I have like 70 subscribers on there right now. I announced it probably like 2 weeks ago, right at this point. But I love movies and TV shows just in general. Those are the two things that I really like to do. I live a really boring life, to be completely honest. But the things that I like to do in my free time are just watch movies and watch sports. Those are kind of my big things. I use a lot of my time that I do have free doing those two things. And so between like going out with my friends to go watch basketball games or spending time with my girlfriend and watching like movies, TV shows, that does take up like I would say almost all of my time when I'm not doing like school or work or making videos. So
What's the movie channel? I can pop it up on the screen once for everyone to go check it out.
Yeah, sure. So it's called the Civil Cinematics. So it's just the word civil and then cinematics. So it's like a play on words. So it's cinema and then the ending part of it is addicts. So like ADDICTS.
Ah,
Um,
gotcha. Love it.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about what about in that vein then? Obviously trying to get to know you more so that people can see favorite movie, favorite TV show.
Whew, yeah, that's enough. That's a loaded question too. I like I said, I love movies and I love TV shows. I would say that my favorite TV show is probably, and I know Austin said this one, but I love The Office. I have like a million different like signs and stuff of The Office. It's something that I've just always just loved. But I would say for when it comes to movies, I don't know if I'd be able to pick strictly just one. But I love Marvel stuff, and I love sports
Okay.
stuff. So between the two, anything that's related to Marvel, anything that's related to sports, it's probably going to be very high on my list.
Okay, okay. So if sports were to, I asked Austin this question too, but if sports were to just not exist in this world, and your social media and your channel, like, so forget taking the 11K subs and sending it somewhere else, you pretty much be. What if I remove movies and TV? Now what are you doing? You got any sort of life? No sports, no movies, and no TV. What are you doing?
Um, I would say the other thing, I mean, I would probably try to go back to my roots and probably try to do something with gaming.
Okay.
I do still play video games every once in a while. With actually, I play video games a lot. I don't know why I said it like that. I play video games quite a bit. Anytime that I do have a chance to with my friends. So we play things like 2K. We play Call of Duty. We hop on the occasional game of like like Fortnite or anything like that, just whatever we have downloaded at the time, just for fun. But I would say if I didn't have movies, if I didn't have TV shows, and I didn't have sports, yeah, my life would be very boring. But I would probably
Who's
go with the
wouldn't,
gaming.
right?
Yeah, right,
like
right.
like I'm not asking an easy question. I'm taking a chunk of like everything out there. Um, so yeah, I think that that's a good like I don't know if you heard it when I was talking to Austin from calling our shot there, but gaming is what got him into even YouTube altogether, making sports videos. So it's really funny how I don't know, maybe my brain's working like that. Like he inspired you in a sense, right? You like to game.
Yeah,
He only started doing YouTube videos because he wanted to post gaming videos, and now it's like this like full 360 view here. But I do want to get into just a couple other questions here, I guess. So let's take it outside of this. I want to ask everyone this because I think it could be fun. It could open up some conversations. What's your drink of choice? Alcoholic, non-alcoholic. You make the call. Restaurant of choice for sit down, and then restaurant of choice for fast food.
okay, yeah, I did hear you say that.
Yeah.
So man, I should have probably thought of the answers to these, but I really didn't. So we'll go ahead and start with the drink of choice first. I do really enjoy beer. I'm a pretty big beer drinker, but it's only when I'm at restaurants. I try to limit myself to where it's only at restaurants, so it's only whenever I go out.
Okay.
If I'm out with some friends or whatever. Um, I, you know, call me what you want, but personally, I don't really drink to like feel anything. So when I drink, I like to drink ciders. Ciders are really good to me. It's definitely a top drink of mine. It really pairs well with a lot of stuff too. But if I'm not going with that, I would definitely go kind of like some lighter beers. I like Coors Light. I would say even like Bud Light, I drink that pretty often too. And even like Michelob Ultra if I'm really just feeling something super light. So that would be my drink of choice for sure, though.
Okay. Okay. I feel like if someone asked me that, I'd be like, oh, I like beer. I like whiskey. I like be like, oh, now I got an issue I got to deal with here. But all right. What about a sit down restaurant? Do you have one in specific that comes to mind?
Sit down restaurant. Shoot. I'm really thinking here. I would say the most common like date night type of spot, like sit down restaurant in general. Um, Shoot. I love steakhouses. So I'm big on like Texas Roadhouse. I'm big on like Outback. Longhorn. So like anything that's really a steakhouse is probably my go-to.
Mhm.
Those are some of my favorite spots, and then also Mexican restaurants. So I would say those are probably like my top two when it comes to like what my favorite sit down restaurant is. I don't know if I'd be able to pick like one specifically, but
Yeah.
those are definitely like my two types of restaurants.
That is that's funny to me too. The three that you named, Longhorn, Texas Roadhouse, and Outback, right? I, I'm surprised that all of them I have up here in or here in Boston too. You know what I mean? Like it just that kind of took threw me for a loop there. But that makes sense. I mean, I could see you being like a middle what'd you say, four cornfields, just loving a good steak like
Yeah,
that. That
right.
totally makes sense to me. Like but all right, we got a
Yeah.
couple more things. Like I said, I don't want to keep you forever, but I don't know if you saw this at the end of our first episode. And I do have a couple more questions about just sort of your channel and stuff coming up, but I do want to get this game in here, which for anyone watching, all we're gonna do is pop up three NBA faces, and you're gonna have to name them. Now, I'm just picking. It's like random NBA generator player.com. They're their headshots, like their typical ESPN,
Okay.
NBA, whatever. And you're gonna be tasked to say the names of each of them, the position. I can be a
Oh,
little
geez.
lenient there, and then also the team that they're currently on. The jerseys may be a little bit of a try
Oh,
and
yikes.
mix you up there, but yeah, let's see if we can get this. Again, 1 point on the board for each name, 1 point for each position, 1 point for each team. Yeah, let's see what you got, man.
Okay. Yeah. So the first two I know 100%. Like,
Okay.
there's nothing I don't know about it. Jalen Brunson's there on the left. He's obviously the great point guard here that has now blossomed here in New York and is now
Mhm.
averaging over 20 points per game. He's having a really good season for the New York Knicks, and he's putting them in a great spot to actually win basketball games. So I know Jalen Brunson. The
One
second
thing
one,
too, I should have
Goran
clarified.
Dragic.
You only need position in terms of guard, forward, center. So don't worry about shooting guard, point guard
Oh,
distinguishing. All
okay.
right. So that makes it a little bit easier, but take it away.
Okay. Okay. The second one is Goran Dragic. He is on my Chicago Bulls, so of course, of course, I know him. He is our backup point guard behind Io, and he would have been behind Lonzo, but we all know what's going on with Lonzo. So he's another guard for my Chicago Bulls. So the third one is kind of throwing me for a loop. I can't lie, that face looks so familiar, but I don't think he's on the Cavs anymore. Um, Man, it's really throwing me for a loop. I'm gonna man, that face just looks ridiculous, really familiar. This is
This,
gonna
I
be
don't
the
know if
first one
this
I'm
is,
probably gonna get wrong.
I don't know if this is a hint, but I didn't get this sort of when I tried to do it myself. And then the name clicked once I did read it. So I don't know if that helps you at all. Probably doesn't, but
No. Yeah, so I know I've only got one guess, but I've got two names in mind, and I'm trying to decide between which one. So I think okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. So I'll say my first guess, and this is the one that counts, and then I'll say what I
okay.
my other guess afterwards. But I'm gonna go with Lamar Stevens. Um, and I know he's a forward, and I think he plays right now for the Jazz. That's gonna be my first official guess, but I think the other name that it could be is Josh Okogie. I could be wrong about that one, but that's what his face kind of looks like. I could be wrong about that 100%, but I those are my two guesses. I
All
don't
right.
think they're right at all, but I
So unfortunately, Lamar Stevens still plays on the Cavs. And that is Lamar Stevens. He is a
oh
forward, but he's still in the
oh
uniform that he has on.
oh
That is pretty good.
man
I once I read Lamar Stevens, like I wouldn't have thought that was Lamar Stevens in a million years. So that's good on you just from that. Because once I saw it, I was like, oh, I could picture him in college. I could picture him just overall, but I
yeah
wouldn't have gotten his face out of a lineup there. So you went 8 for 9 there. And the simplest part of
Yeah.
it was that he's still wearing the jersey that he
Yeah.
plays for. But all right, 8 and 9 isn't that bad with this lineup. That is definitely. I mean, there's a 1 and 3 shot. I guess he's a forward, and I'd say he's on the Cavs, right? So I guess it's that was probably for me a 6 or 7 out of 9. But I'll give you some props there for throwing out Lamar Stevens. That's a good one. All right,
I
last
was
thing I
thinking there
really
was
do
a
want to go ahead.
I was just saying, I thought that maybe there was a chance that he was part of the Laurie Markkinen trade. So I was like, maybe that's where he ended up, but I guess not.
All right, I do want to just kind of end talking about you and allowing you to sort of have the platform, if you will, to talk about what's coming up, where you see it going. I know we talked about like what could you see yourself getting into, but truly, you talked about the movie channel, you shouted that out. What else can anyone view in this that one, maybe they don't know of you? And I would highly suggest if you guys are seeing King Sanders here for the first time, go check out his videos every single day, just like mine. You're on the grind as well. But what can people expect if they're a fan of yours, or if they have just become a fan or something like that today? What do you got going on, or what's a ideal project for you?
Yeah, sure. So I will say that one thing that I'm really going to be working hard for is mostly branching outside of the NBA. I have kind of teetered around doing NFL stuff, and I've done like some videos for NFL, and then I've taken a long time off, and it's just kind of like up in the air as to whether I fully do it or not. And unfortunately, it's the same with the MLB. And with the MLB, I've never necessarily been a huge baseball guy. I used to play it back when I was younger, and I want to be able to get back into it. It was something that I didn't watch baseball for like 4 or 5 years, so everything that happened, I tried to re-watch it last year, and there were so many things that I was like just trying to wrap my head around, like so many different moves and so many, like trying to figure out where everybody was at, like what team they were on, or stuff along those lines. But then again, if I were to just only do basketball, that's like 6 months of not doing anything at all. So I don't want that to be a part of me. I want to be able to produce content all year round. And so, as much as I love college basketball, as much as I love the NBA, and that's kind of where a lot of my focus is, I want to be able to branch out even more. So, baseball is going to be huge for me this year. It's going to be something that I'm really going to dial into and really try to learn the ins and outs of everything baseball related and try to really dial in on that this year. That's for sure my number one priority for this upcoming season, at least.
I like that. I've had the same mindset too. This will bring back nostalgia probably for you and like a bunch of people watching. But I remember like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And obviously you have the weather's changing and whatnot too, where you live, right? But I remember when it would the Red Sox for me, but like when baseball season rolled around, that feeling of, oh, it's getting warmer. This is the spring into the summer. This feels great. That first pitch, like getting geared up for the season. And it's slowly kind of faded away. Like I keep up as you do. I keep up with baseball. I know what's going on. I know the players, but that sort of fandom and that like love for the sport has sort of diminished. So I really like that answer because it's something I don't think I've said it out loud like to my audience or something yet, but I've definitely said it to friends and whatnot. And I'm very excited for that because and this show is all about being transparent, right? Like you and I both know basketball season goes away and it's kind of like, oh, we grew, we built. What are we doing now to kind of maintain that growth, maintain that velocity? What do we do? And I'm very excited for the challenge of getting into different sports, whether it's gambling, it probably will be because that's sort of the focus, gambling, or sort of just being able to make content around that. So I really do like that answer a lot because, funnily enough, without even saying that publicly before, it's one of my big like sort of pillars and challenges that I'm excited for. Like I'm excited to invest myself back into baseball. I'd love to do that for NHL too. That's tough during NBA and whatnot, but just sort of that like not feeling like you're confined to one sport, right? So that is awesome to hear. Yeah, and you want to shout out any of your social medias or anything like that? We'll put everything obviously in the description of the episode, just in case anyone watching this wants to find you. But you want to You want to throw out a verbal communication to the people watching too?
Absolutely. Just one last quick thing. I did want to also just go ahead and agree with you. When it comes to the actual challenge of getting to know the baseball scene, I really like want to challenge myself to do that because I could tell you three-fourths of the rosters out there in the NBA every single night, all the way from down to Isaiah Joe and Kenrick Williams on the Thunder, right? Like I could tell you all these
Yep.
role players off of these teams. But baseball, when you get outside of like a couple of the star players, I could not tell you one way or the other. So I am excited to dive into that and truly figure out everybody and figure out their teams, figure out some stats behind them, stuff like that. But yeah, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet. I just wanted to throw that in there. But my socials, if you guys are new, my name is King Sanders here on YouTube. I do a very similar show to Guy Boston Sports here, but I basically go ahead and provide 3 or 4 plays that I do really like and put them on the screen. I have a overlay that me and my buddy have worked on for a long time. It tracks my records for just the day and also for the entire season. So I'm very transparent with me winning or me losing throughout the day. You'll flat out see it if I'm good or not. So that is my YouTube, and also do go ahead and check out my Twitter. It's just King Sanders YT. Make sure you go do check out both of those. My YouTube or my Twitter is not necessarily as active as it has been in the past. It's kind of slowed down on interactions and whatnot, which is perfectly fine. But let's try to get that popping again. So
Yeah, let's do it. Go follow them, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm tuning in every single day to you as well. I know we're commenting back and forth on each other's videos, but it has been awesome having you on. I couldn't think of a better number two hitter here. I got Austin and now you. I have no idea who's coming up next, so we shall see. But I did want to get the guys that I do feel super close to you two, as we both all both of us obviously, but then him as well, sort of on the same grind, and I think the same mentality towards I don't know if this is too cliche of a word or too like sentiment, like, but the disruption of the sports betting. It's like I don't want to be the boring take my picks, pay $6 a day for my package. You know what I mean? Like that's the disruption that I think
yeah,
that we're all pretty good at. So guys, go follow King Sanders here. And definitely we'll have you back on. We'll probably have 20K at that point in a couple months or something like that. Thank you for coming on.